Hi everyone, my name is Faisal Jahangiri and today I'm going to talk about somatosensory evoked potentials. We are going to discuss the signal generators, the pathways, and also the recording and stimulation side as well as the data interpretation. So during high-risk surgical procedures, somatosensory evoked potential or SSEP are utilized to monitor the functional integrity of the pathway and also the blood supply for these one. So what are the different functions which are carried in that pathway? There are 5 major somatosensory functions which are carried in SSEP pathway. So number 1 is proprioception. Proprioception is the function which is, if you're looking at the screen or you're not looking in your body, you already know where is your body parts are in time and space. So if you're looking at, right now, if you're looking at the computer screen, you know where your right foot is or left foot is. So that's understanding of that knowledge, the sensory signal transmitting to the brain is known as proprioception. The second one is stereognosis. Stereognosis is a function which is holding an object. So when we hold an object, we can tell the shape of the object. It's a square, round, oval. So that is known as stereognosis. The third one is tactile discrimination, which is also known as two-point discrimination. So if you touch with a pinpricks or two sharp objects on any place on the skin, you can tell somebody is touching at the two different points. If you move those two objects very close to each other, that signal disappears and you cannot identify that two signal as the two signals, and it is perceived as a single signal. That is two-point discrimination or tactile discrimination, and it's carried by somatosensory pathway. The reason we can tell these are two pinpricks because every patch of the skin, which is known as dermatome, so the dermatome is a patch of the skin which is supplied by single root. So if somebody is touching your back or your legs or your arm and two dermatomes, the signal is traveling in two different neurons, and you can tell that someone is touching at the two different points. But when we move the two objects very close and both stimulation or both touch points are in the same dermatome, we cannot tell the differentiate because both signals are transmitted to the same fibers. So that the bigger surface area like back of the body or legs, they have bigger dermatomes compared to the fingertips or face. There was small dermatomes. So in order for the back of the body, so you have to be very far apart to know that two-point discrimination. And so if you're even very close, so but on the fingertips, so you have to be, even you are very close, you can still tell that the 2 points because the dermatomes are very, very small. The third one is vibration sensation. So vibration on the body, those are transmitted in somatosensory pathway. And the last one, the fifth one, is weight discrimination. Weight discrimination is a function where you can hold an object and tell the weight of the object is light or heavy. So this is just a presentation about all the 5 sensory functions which are carried in median nerve SSEP or ulnar nerve SSEP or posterior tibial, any sensory nerve which is transmitted to the body in upper extremity or lower extremity. Those are carries those proprioception, stereognosis, weight discrimination, two-point discrimination, light touch, and no pain and temperature. So pain and temperature are not carried by somatosensory pathway. So SSEP are also used intraoperatively to monitor the blood flow of the brainstem, spinal cord, and peripheral nerve. And SSEP is also used to monitor the functional and structural integrity of the spinal cord, brainstem, peripheral nerve, and brain. So we are directly monitoring the structure and indirectly the blood flow supplied to this area, because if the blood flow is decreased or the ischemic event, the signal will not be able to transmit and we will have some changes. So the function of SSEP to integrate these body parts are being used for many decades. So since late 60s, 1970s, the SSEP was started using in intraoperative, and there's no other modality available at that time. So we were indirectly assuming that SSEP is present, then motor pathway is also intact, which is not true because the motor functions are carried in different pathway. And later in late 1990s and also in 2000, when all the devices were approved for motor evoked potential, we were able to identify the motor pathway separately. So focusing back on sensory evoked potential, so we can monitor different tests to monitor the function of the brain, such as phase reversal, which is central sulcus localization, for monitoring for aneurysm surgeries, arteriovenous malformation, vascular surgery, carotid artery repair, bypass surgery, cardiac CABG surgeries, because we are monitoring the blood flow to the brain. Brainstem surgeries for CPA tumors, foreventricular tumors, brainstem aneurysm, meningiomas. So we can do SSEP, and SSEP give us information about the signal transmitting to the brainstem. So if we can tell the integrity and the blood flow of the brainstem, if the signals are transmitting to the brainstem. For spinal cord surgery, so the function of spinal cord is monitored by SSEP, specific to the dorsal column, because somatosensory pathway is traveling in dorsal column. So if any mechanical injury or ischemic event into dorsal column will be seen as a change in the data. So scoliosis surgeries, spinal fusion, trauma, tumors, aortic repairs, implants, so all these surgeries, wherever the sensory signals are at risk, can be monitored by SSEP. Peripheral nerve surgeries, so when we are doing peripheral nerve surgeries for brachial plexus repair or nerve tumors or neurolysis, all these cases where the nerve is at risk, including hip surgeries, we can do SSEP and monitor these pathways. So today lecture we are going to cover, and at the end of the session, so I'm hoping that everyone knows the pathway. What are the SSEP pathway, different generators of SSEP, the stimulation site, learning about the stimulation site for upper extremity and lower extremities, learning about the recording site for upper and lower SSEPs, understanding the effect of anesthesia we have on these SSEP signal, the recording parameters, the stimulation parameters, identifying the waveform morphology, comparing the good waveform from a poor waveform, recording montages, different signal which is used for recording, and also understanding the data interpretation. So the pathways are the key. So starting from the pathway, because if you know the pathway, then we know where to record. So the pathway is the main thing. So I always encourage that to learn about the pathway for upper extremity and lower extremity. Try to draw those as many times as possible. You can draw without looking at that and fix that, and then keep drawing until you can draw without that. And on that pathway, then you draw, identify that the site where the signal is produced, and then and also which electrode to use those signal, and how the signal will appear. It will be a negative signal or positive signal, or what will be the latency or the time it will take the signal. So the upper SSEP pathway, which means that the signals which are traveling in upper extremities, hands, arms. So it is time lock signal, and it is known as dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, because it travels in dorsal column and then cross over medial lemniscus to reach the brain. So how the signal reach from your stimulation side or from your sensory signals receptors to the brain on the opposite side. So there are 3 neurons involved to reach to the brain, somatosensory cortex. Then we have 4th and 5th neurons. They make more multiple synapses. But from stimulation site in the upper extremity to the first recording site, there are 3 neurons involved. These neurons, they are labeled as first order neuron, second order neuron, and third order neuron. So the first order neuron carries the signal from your receptors or stimulation site. It enters through the dorsal root, combined with the it is traveling in the mixed nerve, sometimes sensory or mixed nerve, and then the mixed nerve split into the ventral root and dorsal root. The ventral is motor and the dorsal is the sensory. It enters the spinal cord and it ascends up. It travels up in the dorsal posterior side of spinal cord, and that is known as fasciculus cuneatus. So the upper extremity is fasciculus cuneatus or dorsal column. So dorsal fasciculus means pillars. So inside the dorsal column, there's a specific for upper extremity, which is outside. The lower extremity is in medially. The upper extremity is laterally. So the fasciculus cuneatus travels up in the dorsal column, and then in the lower medulla, it makes a synapse in the nucleus cuneatus. So nucleus cuneatus is the collection of the cell body of the second order neuron. The cell body, each neuron has dendrite, axon, and cell bodies. The cell bodies of the first neuron, they are outside the spinal cord, and this is known as dorsal root ganglia. So dorsal root ganglia is a collection of the cell body of the first order neuron outside the nervous spinal cord. There is no synapse, so the first synapse is nucleus cuneatus. The second order neurons start from nucleus cuneatus, and nucleus cuneatus is the collection of the cell body of the second order neuron. So the second order neurons originate from the nucleus cuneatus in lower medulla, and then it decussates. So it crosses over to the opposite side, decussation occurs, and that is through medial lemniscus pathway. And so yeah, the second order neurons, again, it starts with the nucleus cuneatus, it crosses over to the other side through the medial lemniscus pathway and makes a synapse with the third order neuron in thalamus. So in the thalamus, the cell bodies of the third order neurons, they are inside the thalamus. The thalamus, which is also known as sensory gateway to the brain, all the sensory signals, they travel to the thalamus. So the third order neurons originate, their cell bodies is in the thalamus, they originate from the thalamus and they go to the somatosensory cortex and terminate in the postcentral gyrus. So the postcentral gyrus, or S1, primary sensory area, is where the third order neuron synapse. The somatosensory cortex is presenting, the upper extremity is more on the lateral side of the cortical surface, and the upper extremity just supplied, the blood supply of that is middle cerebral artery, or MCA. So MCA is a branch of internal carotid artery, and internal carotid artery is a branch of common carotid artery originating from the aorta. So it's important to remember the blood supply of the cortical responses for the middle cerebral artery for the upper extremity is middle cerebral artery. Same pathway is for the lower SSEP, the name is different. So again, we have three order of neurons, first neuron, second order neuron, third order neurons. The first neuron carries the signal from the stimulation side or from neuroreceptors into the spinal cord and enter into dorsal column. And it forms the dorsal column, and it's more medial. Both left and right dorsal columns for the lower limbs are medial, and upper are lateral, because upper join the later than the lower, and that is known for the lower one is known as fasciculus gracilis. The upper one is fasciculus cuneatus. The lower one is fasciculus gracilis. So these fasciculi, they travel up in the spinal cord in the dorsal column and then make a synapse in nucleus gracilis. So again, the cell bodies of these first order neuron is in dorsal root ganglia of the lower limbs. The second order neurons, cell bodies in nucleus gracilis, and they originate from nucleus gracilis and cross over to the other side to thalamus, and that thalamus crossover is known as decussation, and pathway is known medial lemniscus pathway. And after decussation, the synapse with the nucleus of the third order neuron in thalamus. From thalamus, again, we have third order neuron. It originates from thalamus, and then it travels up to the somatosensory cortex and make a synapse with the fourth neuron and the other neuron in the primary central gyrus in postcentral gyrus. The somatosensory cortex for the lower limbs is represented in the midline, is between the two hemispheres, and lower extremity is supplied by anterior cerebral artery, ACA, or anterior communicating artery, the artery which may communicate between two ACAs. So if there is any ischemia or any damage to these arteries, it will result in loss of lower limb SSEP and also motor evoked potential, because motor function and sensory function both are in that area in the midline. So it is very important to remember that the two commonly known as sensory functions, pain and temperature, they are not carried with the somatosensory pathway. So somatosensory pathway does not carry pain and temperature. Pain and temperature are carried by another pathway, which is known as spinothalamic pathway. And spinothalamic pathway, you have is more on the lateral side. So in the lateral side, outside the lateral side of spinal cord, the dorsal somatosensory cord are more dorsal. It's the posterior side as well, the spinal cord. So when surgery is starting, so the first thing we do is pre-operative. You have to measure the head for placement of the electrode. So the measurement should be done according to international 1020 system. We measure from Nazian to Indian, and then A1 to A2, identify CC, C3, C4, and then we go for CP3, CPZ, and CP4, 2 centimeters back from that point, and then FZ and FPZ for the place of the electrode. So it's my recommendation is always to measure the head before you place the electrode, because many people, they just guess and say, okay, I'm going to guess and ballpark and visually identify and place the electrode, which is not the correct way. So the correct way is to measure the head and place it on appropriate. So if you place the electrode any place on the head, you might get a signal, but that signal may not be the signal you're looking for. So signal exponentially decreases if you are the distance from your generator is increased. It is not a linear degradation. So if you have a little bit far, your signal will be very smaller and it may be inverted. So and if you don't know it's an inverted signal, so you may be monitoring the wrong signal. So please make sure to measure the head, place and mark in the preoperative area, and then the place electrode and in the OR when the patient is. Check the protocol. So always open the computer and check the protocol. What are the different nerves we are stimulating for this, if it's a carotid surgery or cervical spine surgery or thoracic surgery or lumbar surgery or hip surgery. So the nerves change depending on you're doing this for upper extremity control or monitoring the nerves for the upper or lower extremity. So checking the protocol, where to plug in these left and right SSEP stimulation, which electrode to use for recording of these. So according to protocol, make sure setting up the patient once the patient is intubated and under anesthesia, and also record the baseline before the incision. So we need to have before the incision, before they place the drape. So the drape is placed, it's very difficult to go back and change your electrode. So the target should be taking the baseline before the drapes are on and document the report and data to the surgeon. So if the signal is very good, poor, unreliable or absent, so make a category and identify them and troubleshoot your best to make sure if the reason the signals are not poor because the head is not measured correctly, the electrodes are plugged in wrong or some other error. So then that should be done before the surgery start and you have a baseline.